Fallout 76, will it fail or will it succeed? Before we know that answer, let's take a look at details that have already come to light. A few days ago, noclip, another YouTube channel, uploaded a documentary that shed some light on the making of Fallout 76. If you haven't seen it yet, you should go check it out after this video. It's awesome. I'll put a link in the description. But anyways, the world is 4 times bigger than it was in Fallout 4, so the world is massive. We know that Fallout 76 is going to be an online game, though. It will have no single player at all. At launch, there will be no private servers. You would not be able to play single player. You will be able to play solo. That's what Todd Howard was saying.
Now, I'll hit a couple of the big ones. First, of course, you can play this solo. All right? You'll be who you want, exploring a huge world, doing quests, experiencing a story, and leveling up. We love those things about our games too. It would not have it any other way.
You can play solo, but a lot of people were asking me, it's like, can I play offline?
You cannot. You will see, even if you're playing by yourself doing quests, you will see other players.
Okay.
And you can interact with them, or you can ignore them, because there is a quest line.
You don't have to party up with people. You don't have to really associate with other players probably too often. But there will be other players on the map, and there will be nothing you can do about it until they eventually launch private servers. Also, Todd Howard has discussed there will be mods.
Now, the fans, I think, want to know about mods in an online environment. You know, it's such a huge part of, you know, your games over the years, BGS. How are you going to treat the idea of mods or user content in this environment?
We love mods, and so we are 100% committed to doing that in 76 as well. Okay. We will not be able to do that at launch, though. Yep. You know, our goal for launch, this is really new for us, is have a well-running, robust service.
We did hear an estimated player count, 24 to 36 players. Now, if you think about it, on a world that's 4 times bigger than Fallout 4, that actually gives a lot of space for each player to go do their own thing. So you won't constantly be seeing other players running around. Like Todd Howard said, it's not an amusement park, it's the apocalypse. So I think that's an actual very positive thing when it comes to this game. It won't be too crowded, but it won't be empty when it comes to other players. So here's the thing that a lot of players have really disliked so far hearing about Fallout 76. There will be 0 human NPCs. That includes raiders or any faction that has to deal with humans. Now, they give a reason why. They said they didn't want players to have to guess if another player was an AI or human, which makes sense. Also, if there was already raiders on the map, they would go against the lore of Fallout. It makes sense, but at the same time, it's not a comforting thought, because there will only be 24 to 36 humans, as in players, on the map at one time. And a map that's 4 times bigger than Fallout 4, that can be a real issue. Now, the raiders sound like they have been replaced by another faction. It has been confirmed that there will be a ghoul-like faction that hasn't completely churned, and they will be called the Scorch. Now, will other factions get replaced by ghouls that are somewhat like the Scorch that haven't completely churned after 25 years after the bombs dropped? Now, this is a survival game, so you will have to eat and drink in this game to survive. A lot of players might like that or might hate that. It really depends on what kind of player you are. Another one cool thing I thought was really awesome that I saw in the noclip documentary was you could craft ammo, which is extremely useful if you're low on ammo, but you have a lot of resources that you can spend at one time in a settlement. If you've ever played a Fallout game before, the worst thing is to ever run out of ammo. You're pretty much useless after that unless you have melee weapons or another gun that has ammo. But it might not be your favorite gun, or the gun might not do as much damage. So crafting ammo for, let's say, your favorite gun. Let's say your favorite gun is a rifle and you run out of rifle ammo, then you have to go switch to a pistol. But you don't like using the pistol because the pistol doesn't do as much damage. Well, now you can craft ammo. and so you can craft plenty of ammo you want for your rifle so you don't run out. Another thing that they discussed was you can build a settlement anywhere with the thing they call a camp. You might not be able to use it if you go inside a building. That would be awesome though, if you could go in a building and build a little settlement, but I highly doubt that they will ever do that. There will be controlled settlements just like there was in Fallout 4 with workbenches and whatnot on the map with more rare resources. That means if you actually, let's say you walk upon a settlement that isn't controlled by anyone and you take control of it, you kill all the enemies within the settlement boundaries, you can take control of this settlement and build it up. And since you took control of this settlement, you will acquire more rare resources. So this might be a really huge play factor in the game. Let's say another human controls a settlement. You could possibly go in there and take it from him and get a lot more rare resources and build up a bunch of defenses. These little areas, these little pockets of wherever the controlled settlements are, might be prime territory for PvP combat. But it all depends on how the settlement works and how taking control of it works. Now let's get to the nukes. Nukes can be used to make high-level areas with better loot drops. So now it seems quite difficult to launch the nukes. That's what they're saying anyways. Even though when we saw in the Bethesda E3, they killed a ghoul and one of the nuclear launch codes was on that ghoul.
How does a fella like you acquire nuclear weapons, you may ask? Begin by inquiring with the locals. Gently coax them into cooperation. Use a little elbow grease if you have to.
A lot of people are worried about the nukes. So let's say you build a settlement out in the middle of nowhere and some guy who's got all the launch codes decides, hey, I want to blow up this guy's settlement. Yes, they can launch a nuke at your settlement, but it would really only damage your settlement. So it might not exactly be, crushing everything that you just worked on and built.
But if someone does get their hands on a nuke, that would pose a threat to everything you've built, I would have to assume.
And the same thing like with the griefing, they can damage what you've built, but they can't eradicate it forever.
Okay.
And then you have the ability to easily repair it.
Okay.
Now let's get to the perks. The perks have changed quite a bit since Fallout 4. They're going to be using a card system. You will only be able to have a certain amount of perks active at one point. That's probably in place, so high-level players can't go around and messing with low-level players because they have 50 perk cards, whereas a low-level player might have 5 and absolutely devastate them. I'm guessing they did this to somewhat balance the game. That means just because you're a low level doesn't mean you won't be able to kill a high-level player. It will be mostly based on skill at that point, unless that high-level player mostly focuses on PvP combat within his perk skill. It's still to be determined on how much effect these perks will have on PvP combat. It has been confirmed in the noclip documentary on Fallout 76 there will be microtransactions for cosmetic items, but they do plan on updating the game with DLC for free, which is huge, especially if it's a large amount of DLC. It could absolutely add more playability to this game without having to spend extra money. Now, you can spend extra money on microtransactions, but it is, like I said, purely cosmetic. They also said that all the cosmetic items that you can get in the microtransactions you will be able to unlock through gameplay. So the more you play, the more you unlock for cosmetics, which is good. They're not punishing players that don't want to spend more money on microtransactions. It also does cost money for them to have dedicated servers, which is a huge plus in my book. Too many companies use peer-to-peer, which is cheaper for them but a lot less stable for the player. Bethesda said there will be protections also for the players that don't want to completely do PvP, and so the game doesn't become grief central. Also, when you die, you won't lose any of your loot. Todd Howard even referred to the game as a softcore survival game because a lot of survival games can be extremely harsh. You can play solo on these survival games like Ark, have a group of people run up to you, kill you, destroy your camp, kill all of your dinosaurs, and you lose of your progress. That has been a huge issue in the Ark survival. A lot of people love that game, but a lot of people have walked away away from that game due to griefing, which I don't blame them. If I play for 60 hours and then I go away and I don't play the game for a couple days and I come back and all of my dinosaurs are dead and my camp is completely destroyed, it really doesn't make me want to continue playing that game. Luckily, in Fallout 76, when you leave the game, your settlement will disappear. So that means when you leave, no one will be able to grief your stuff. No one will be able to mess with you, steal your stuff. And so it's a lot less griefy in that sense. Also, like I said, if you die, you won't lose your loot. And I also heard that other players won't be able to loot your body. If you do decide to PvP with another player, I heard there are incentives though, like maybe you'll get extra XP. I know for a fact that players will earn caps, depending on whoever wins the PvP combat, they will earn caps for themselves. There's a little bit more to the list, but I can go on and on about different details of the game that we know so far, but that is the huge majority of what we know. Now, looking back on all that, let's determine what we think if this game is going to fail or succeed. There are some pros and cons to how this game is going to be. There's no single player, so it's not going to be a traditional Fallout game. So a lot of people who love the traditional Fallout but aren't a fan of multiplayer games, this game is going to probably disappoint you. Now, if you're a fan of Fallout games and you don't mind multiplayer, this game is probably going to do very well for you, and you'll probably play this game quite a bit. There's also one more thing I forgot to mention. There will be quests still. They've emphasized that quite a bit. Unfortunately, there won't be any human NPCs giving you quests. I heard they would be robots, terminals, things that you pick up in the world, and so you have to pay attention to detail most likely. But it does give me hope that there will be some fun quests out there for you to do solo. I'm pretty sure Bethesda wouldn't make a world 4 times bigger than Fallout 4 and put crappy quests in there, but you never know. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt that they won't. I'm assuming that there's a good amount of quests in there. Fun quests. I'm hoping they're not go kill ghouls at this location and then come back to me or whatnot. Like there was a lot of quests in Fallout 4 where you had to go help a settlement, go kill some ghouls, go kill some raiders at this location, and the settlement would join you. It was a lot of that, a lot of Radiant quests. I'm hoping in this game there's a lot more written out quests. I'm not sure if you ever played the Far Harbor DLC for Fallout 4, but it was beautifully written. The quests in Far Harbor were way better than they were in Fallout 4, and I'm hoping that the quests in Fallout 76 are written to be quite entertaining for the person that's doing the quest. And I'm thinking that they actually will be, because the last quests that Bethesda made was obviously Far Harbor, like I said, and they had some pretty decent quests. So to go back on that after they just did it would be quite odd. But at the same time, you never know with a multiplayer game. I did hear in the noclip documentary about one of the individuals talking about one of his favorite quest lines and how he thought it was extremely funny. And so that gives me hope that the quests will be at least written out very well and could be quite entertaining. Because for me, that is my favorite part of a Fallout game. Doing the quests and learning about the world that is around me that Bethesda has built.
What is my favorite area in the game right now? I have to say Charleston is. It's where the first responders are. So it's like an old fire department where you can like find firemen's uniforms and that kind of stuff. And there's a terminal where you can take the training course, and it's like, what do you do when you're seeing gas come in for the vents? And do you put your arm over your nose? Do you run out screaming, or do you light a match?
I'm really optimistic about the world. I'm not sure if you've seen it. The noclip documentary sheds a lot of light on it, and it looks absolutely beautiful. It looks a lot better than the Fallout 4 world by far. It has mountain ranges, it has forests, it still has cities. And so that gives me a lot of optimism about this world that Bethesda has built. So let's say maybe you don't like the forests. You can go off and play in the city, or go to possibly a wasteland with, radiation anywhere. Or you can go to the mountain range and see what's going on in the mountains. There also are new monsters that they showed off in the new noclip documentary. And so I'm optimistic about the world. But how will the world feel with 24 to 36 players running around? Will it feel like you matter in the world, like you're doing something in the world, that the world is your own to conquer, because that is the feel in most of the Fallout and even Elder Scrolls games, that world is yours for the taking, that the story is built around you. I still hope that you feel important in this world that Bethesda has built, and not just like someone that's walking around exploring. Exploring is fun, don't get me wrong. Also, role-playing aspects is very important. It helps with immersion. If you're just walking around and you don't feel it really attached to the world, it breaks your immersion, and the world and game doesn't feel as good to you as it should. Now, after watching the documentary, I do feel a lot more optimistic than I did before, and I'm going to give this game a try, and I'm hoping it will succeed. I love Bethesda Game Studios, and I love the work they do. I'm hoping that this game turns out to be everything that they want and everything players want. But time will tell if this game will succeed or fail. I'm hoping it will succeed, but it is possible that it might fail. No one wants this game to fail, especially Bethesda and especially the players.